I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Barenaked, 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 ABCs. Welcome to the Barenaked ABCs, where we discuss the solution to life, the universe, and everything, one song at a time.
42.
Tonight we are discussing life, in a nutshell. Not the Stephen Hawking book. That was the universe in a nutshell. And man, that was a really, really super tough read. It took me years to get through that book. But anyways, tonight we are discussing the song. Well, it really doesn't discuss life or even a single person in a nutshell. Well, anyways, let's find out more about this song. First thing you need to know is who is joining us. Tonight we have Stefan and Jeff.
Hello there!
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
And joining us are Nick and JD from Barenaked Ladies Are Us. Thank you and welcome back, gentlemen.
Woo!
Thanks for having us
Thank you,
again.
guys.
We didn't scare them
It's great
away.
to have you to discuss a masturbation song.
Yeah.
We double checked just to make sure this time.
You don't want to be
So,
typecast.
Exactly. I don't want people to go, are those the masturbation guys whenever we're back on? Like, I don't want that to be
That would make
now
you.
you have
That
to
would
come back for another song.
that would make
Right.
you Stefan.
Yeah.
great.
I only saw one hand there, Stefan.
Well,
This is awful.
the other hand, always a mystery, isn't it, Tracy?
It is.
What am I doing underneath the screen?
No, not usually. Usually I know exactly.
Just need a tissue.
Wow, this got off to a good start, huh?
There we go.
So we don't have Aaron tonight, but he's supposed to be sending me his thoughts on this song. So Aaron, what album is this on?
I see this as sort of a sibling piece to Brian Wilson, which of course is one of my favorite BNL tunes. It does remind me a lot of Brian Wilson, but I don't think this is off Gordon, and it would be weird if it was because it does remind me of it so much. So I'm going to go with their next record, which would be Maybe You Should Drive.
Aaron who?
Oh, I can't believe you got that wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
I would not have said
Grinning
1984.
streak, really?
That's what I was, right. You'd think Steve would have been a dead
Paige is
giveaway.
singing. What the? Yeah, I know. What the hell, Aaron?
I didn't think it was even close to Purple Rain. I don't know where he came up with that.
Hey, I love raspberry sorbet. It's so good. It's so tasty.
So yes, Jeff, if people don't know what album this is off, go ahead. I know you want to say it.
Only the greatest controversial opinion Barenaked Ladies album ever. Maybe You Should Drive.
I will agree with you that it is
I know it's a
controversial.
controversial opinion, but I stand by it.
Where did I rank that, Nick? Did I rank that dead last?
I think
For me,
you
it was
might
either
have.
dead last or it was right down there.
Second.
Second to
I'm
last?
used to our guest hating on my
No,
album.
you had it dead last.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, he did have
12 out of 12.
Okay.
Wow.
So maybe the album should be maybe you should crash instead of just drive.
maybe Jeff should pick a different album.
Yeah. We're just hoping that your taste in music improves.
Didn't the last three guests all rank Maybe You Should Drive low?
Yeah.
I mean, while I'm sitting here like it's
12 out of 12 and 9
What
out of
about
12.
I think it's just got an ordering problem. It's got an ordering problem. But
Yeah.
we'll find out tonight if people like this song off the album.
Her life in a nutshell, no way. What you wanted to change me, it's not that easy, cause my type is often decided for me.
But speaking of this song, Jeff, do you know who wrote this song?
Barenaked Ladies.
It's definitely Barenaked Ladies. It's definitely a Paige song, but I would be compelled to say it might be a Paige Duffy. It's not a Paige. Is it a Paige Robertson?
It is a Paige Robertson.
Okay.
So for this album, Paige and Robertson wrote completely separate for almost every song on this album.
Except for this one. Okay, yeah, okay.
Because I have an interview here that they did around the time of this album for 14850.com. I don't know how you're
That's my favorite music review site, by the way. I always go to 14850.com. My favorite zip code.
They're amazing.
I thought you were a Sputnik guy.
I forgot that's true. Yeah, I have my alliances, but that's not what we're talking about.
They asked Ed, why did you guys write so much separately for this album when everything else was so together on the first one? And he said it was basically a product of extensive touring together. They were spending 22 hours, 23 hours a day together, and writing songs was the only time that they could really spend any time apart. And they enjoyed their solitude where they could get it. But it's interesting, like Tyler jumps in, he goes, I think it's a good confirmation of these guys that actually getting together and writing a song again was the fact that they did this in a half an hour with this song. It's because we had time away from each other, and then they got together and wrote Life in a Nutshell, which is one of the best songs on the album. And I think it's one of the most spontaneous songs that we ever recorded. And I would have to agree with that. Like, it really does sound spontaneous. And it does sound like Steve and Ed were like, hey, it's actually nice to write together again.
So they went to their fortresses of solitude, huh? To write this song?
For the most part.
Did they have influences from holographic fathers?
No. What they did have was Ben Mink in the other room. And he was so impressed. The version that's on the album is actually the third take they ever did of this song.
Wow.
Playing it and writing it like all together, just sitting down and doing this together. Boom, third take. They came back into the studio afterwards, and Ben Mink's like, guys, just sit down and listen to this. And they were all like, holy, that's amazing.
Hey, watch your language, poop mouth.
Did they say that all in
No,
unison?
that's the quote. That's the actual quote.
Yeah, at the same time, they all said, holy
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when a song really congeals together like that. Like it's meant to be sung and it's meant to be written. And it's really cool when that happens.
We'll get to the different versions in a little bit here, but I think that, yeah, this song just kind of congealed the first kind of time that they played it. Whether or not it got better or worse when certain members of the band left and came, we'll discuss that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. we'll address that. We'll address that elephant in the room.
But let's talk a little bit about the music of this song. Aaron, what's the breakdown?
All right, I've got a mini breakdown this week due to unforeseen circumstances, but here's what I can tell you. Life in a Nutshell was recorded right around 158 beats per minute. It holds pretty steady, but they weren't using a metronome or a click track for this one. It's in the key of F major and makes interesting use of changes in beat and mood. There's some great vocal work by Paige on this track. I love the piano work too. When the drums change to hitting every downbeat halfway through the verse, that's really such a great moment. Unfortunately, that's missing from the live version that we listened to, which was much more, I don't know, I didn't like it as much. It was smoother, less rough around the edges, and less dynamic for it, in spite of some outstanding piano work from Kevin and a very solid groove being laid down by Tyler on the drums.
All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way.
Wow, that's a lot of chords.
Yeah.
I think it was G, C, and A minor, right?
No, that no.
Well, don't forget that capo
No,
though.
that was the late song, I believe.
No,
and not Blam, by the way.
JD and Nick, you guys are our guests. What are your thoughts on the music of this song?
Go for it, Nick. I mean, you were the one who was pushing for this one, so you take the lead on it, man.
I love this song.
Maybe wait. Are you saying maybe he should drive?
I'd love it if he drove.
Oh,
I think this song's great. I love musically. I love everything from like the little vocal background effects to like the that he does, that type of stuff. Steve's voice is on par, just perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is, like I said, not my favorite album. I think it is one of my favorite songs on the album. It is
your least favorite album, apparently.
yeah, it is. And I was looking
not
at
my favorite album.
I was just looking at the track listing and I was like, that's one of my favorite songs. That one's great. That one's great. And I think you're right. I think it's a track list order issue. But it always blows my mind. Whenever I try to write songs and I put a capo somewhere, I just kind of go, all right, let's see what I can do. And everything feels the same. And then whenever I look at 90% of the songs that Steve writes, it's a capo on the 3rd fret and it's some variation of like 9 chords. And it all feels unique and different, even though Old Apartment, Brian Wilson and $1 Million are almost very similar in terms of the chord structure, but it just feels happy and uplifting, and I think the capo on the 3 can do that. It just kind of lightens it up a bit. So yeah, I really like the music on this. I think it's one of the strongest songs on the album, instrument wise and musically.
It's interesting you said instrument wise. Like in terms of instruments, it's very sparse.
Yeah,
and it's probably the most simple song instrument wise on this album.
Yeah, and I love upbeat songs driven by. I don't. Jeff gave you a look there. I mean, I think there's a couple that are a little more simple, but I just love.
The obvious one came to mind.
There's an obvious one.
I always forget that one for some reason. The one just before this one.
I love that these guys can take an acoustic guitar and make that the driving instrument of the song, and it still feels full. Because I agree, instrumentation wise, it's pretty basic, but it feels very full. It doesn't feel lacking or like bare or anything like that. So I've loved when they've been able to do that. Take an acoustic guitar or take a song driven by acoustic guitar and make it feel very full. Mm-hmm. That's just me.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay. So on the instruments, we have Ed on acoustic, Andy's on piano, Tyler's on drums, Jim's on bass. That's it. That's the entire instrument panel.
There it is.
But you're right. It doesn't feel empty. It feels full throughout this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's what I found interesting about this one is usually you have Tyler that is the backbone and skeleton of all the songs.
Sure.
Jim's the perfect skeleton on the song. He's very simple in the background, and by that I don't mean an insult. What I mean is that like he is providing literally the backbone to the song, which allows Tyler to just go and do a million different types of fills throughout this song.
And I feel, one thing to be, and I love post Steve BNL, but I think one thing to be critical of it is that the drumming on those albums gets really basic real fast. Whether it's just using a drum machine, a simple beat, or Tyler, like I think even did I say that out loud? There's so many, there's times for fills in there, and it's just the most simple fill in the world. Yeah. Whereas here you just hear him going ham in the background, and it just feels like that's missing from a lot of their newer stuff, and it sounds really good when he does it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are times that he goes into a double beat just before that pre-chorus at the beginning of the pre-chorus and then comes out of it. You're like, oh yeah, it's going to pick up, but it doesn't. It comes back.
Right.
And, there's times in there when he's like really just getting into this really deep riff. And then he's like, all right, yeah, and I'm done. And now I'm done with that. I'm on to this next thing.
I'm a big fan of
it adds.
I'm a big fan of Steve BNL. To me, that sound, it's not really BNL without him. For me, in my opinion, They can still make great songs, but something is missing. But if they're able to have Steve on the majority of songs, and then have Ed do his songs, and then Kevin do his songs, I think it would have really blended in really, really well together. My favorite album, and the only album I have in my car, or still, is Gordon. And it's great to hear a song like this, because this song to me is BNL. It's the traditional BNL, and it can't beat it. This is why I fell in love with this kind of music, and why I fell in love with the band, is because of BNL sounding music.
I think and to that point, I do feel like this song is a perfect, like, we've as we've been doing our pod, we've read a lot about their thoughts on the band, whether it's about the breakup and issues that they had about the perception of the band as a novelty act or whatever. This feels like a perfect entry point into the band, that it's light, but it's not like silly, and it's not like super funny, or like that's not the thing at the forefront. It's really good musically and has a great melody, but it still it checks every box of a BNL song. So I think, like, ideally, we've talked before about how we have friends who, when you say Barenaked Ladies, they go, "Oh, you mean the 1 Week People?" And like that's kind of their only, which is fine. That's one of their biggest songs. I get it. But like, if you had a blank slate and could show someone this band from step one, this feels like a great starting point to then kind of hook them into it.
But so the other thing about it's interesting you said it's quintessential BNL, that it's got that BNL sound, because they do something on this song that I don't think they do on many other songs that BNL has, especially up to this point. But even after this, during the Steve era,
you mean they sound
but
good?
Then JD's like, but then JD's like, but you don't want to listen to the rest of this album. So
well, there's that, yes.
Let's move on to the next one.
Andy and Ed are playing so closely together. Maybe it's just me in my bad ears. I had a hard time parsing out, like, what's the piano versus what's Ed's acoustic going in there. And it blends so beautifully between the two that I was like, this is just, they are filling the spaces between each other perfectly on this song.
Yeah.
This is one of the few tracks where I've actually stopped and isolated it. Like, I wanted to isolate it because of the moving parts that are happening in this song are so good and so interwound. And I haven't given my opinion on the music, have I? I hate this song.
Die, Jeff, die.
No. If I were to list my top 5 favorite BNL songs, this would be on there. So let's just get that out of the way. But this is definitely one of my top 5. But like, there's some songs where not a single note is wasted, and this is one of those songs. Nothing stays the same. There's like the little riff that you might hear at the beginning, the piano riff, isn't there in the second verse. It's now a guitar riff, and those little moving parts during a section. But I don't tend to worry about the things that other people say. What Andy's doing on the piano during that section is just so glorious. Those little moments, and don't get me started on the bridge. That little piano interweaving that he does over there. The drum breaks that lead into the verses. Musically, there's not like a wasted note here. Now, I will say, we will talk about this. I kind of feel like maybe there was a point where Andy said nobody's going to play a piano riff on a BNL song or this song like I did. And then they did Rock Spectacle, and Kevin said, "Hold my beer."
Well, we'll come to that, because I have some thoughts on that.
We'll get to that.
But you did bring up a really important point
a
second ago, Jeff, that I don't want to skip over. The cadence of this song, with the way that Steven is singing this song, is its own character, and is beautiful. Like, he doesn't stick to a particular cadence throughout the whole song. Again, he's switching it up. He's not quite going Sinatra where he's way off beat, but he's just switching up the way that he approaches the lines each and every single verse, as well as when you hear him do it live, like when we get to the Rock Spectac version, where he's just like, I'm going to really just like let into these lines and have fun with it. And you can tell they're enjoying it.
The song is just so full and rich. And it's like, it's good that you guys mentioned the limited instruments that are in this song, but it it doesn't sound like it at all, and that's just beautiful.
Rich is a really good word for it. It feels
very rich.
Yeah.
Like a meal in a glass.
And one of the things that I want to make sure we get to too is the background vocals and what they're doing with those backgrounds throughout the song with not just supporting Steve during the choruses, but let's talk a little bit more about those background vocals, because they really are, and as I was saying before with Steve's vocals, they are their own character in this song that adds depth.
And the biggest component, the biggest one I feel, the one that I love the most is in the second verse. I don't tend to worry. The descending harms that they have going there is just one of the most glorious backing vocals I've ever heard on a.
Is that the bops?
Bop.
Just so good. No, that's on the bridge. The bops.
Okay.
But where that's on the bridge where they go. Only her tenderness taught me. That's the bops. But I believe is what you're thinking of. But I don't tend to worry on the second verse has that descending ooh line that just goes down. It just flows so amazingly with the
I think like you said, with the cadence changes and the way he changes the line a little bit every time, that combined with the vocal effects that they do in the background makes they blend really well together, and it just makes it super fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I concur.
All in agreement?
Yeah, I agree. I agree too.
It's weird because usually when they're doing these songs, if they're going to do something with the stereophonics, what they end up doing is they do it throughout the whole song. Like they'll have one instrument on one side, or they'll flip it up throughout the song, and they're consistent with being inconsistent on their songs, and that they're going to stick to whatever pattern they're on that song. They're inconsistent with their inconsistency in this song, in that you have the harmonies in one ear. Later on, you have the harmonies in the other ear. When it comes to the bops, you have it alternating bop, 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 ear to ear, back and forth.
Yep.
And I don't know why Ben Mink decided to do that, but it's amazing to listen to on a stereo.
And it seems like they not only harmonized the background with the lead vocals, but based on what Jeff said about having to separate the different instruments, the acoustic from the piano, it seems like they really harmonized the instruments really, really well as well, to the point where it blends and creates something beautiful.
And I like that Ben Mink made that choice, honestly, on this one. I know we've had our fair share to say about Ben Mink, but I like it when there's that kind of stereophonic where the harmonies don't always go where you want to. I got a vocal here, I got a vocal here. Ooh, I got a vocal in left and right channel. I mean, there's just something to be said about that, especially when the vocals are being done so well. And we're talking about harmonics, the layering of the harmonies. There's just something that makes the song more of an experience when that's happening.
Well, it's interesting as a whole, just finding out that this was like the third take of the song, because we're talking about so many specific things, but it happens so fast. It just seemed like, not to be cheesy, it seems like one of those just moments of magic that just came together, happened, and there's no point trying to replicate it, taking more takes or overdubs or anything like that.
Right.
This is it happened, and it worked, and it was perfect. And it's kind of just like, all right, I'm not touching it anymore. That's it.
It's B&L's Citizen Kane.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
some would argue that's probably Brian Wilson, but
it is interesting that this does seem to me to be at least in my experience with their shows and the fan base and stuff like that it's not a hit in that it regarded to that level when we're of Brian Wilson, when we're talking about it as if it is top 5 perfect song, or to some, somewhere in that. It feels more like a secondary or even tertiary song. I've never seen it live as far as I can recall, in the few handful of times I've seen them. So it's interesting that it is so that we seem to all agree that it's so great, but don't really hear it all that much.
Of course, now I have to look up I have to go on here and look up online to see how often it actually is played in concert.
Oh yeah.
So
Setlist FM, here we come.
Oh man, it's gonna take me a minute to load up on my phone because my phone is.
Do they play this often now, post Steve?
I know they played it at least.
I don't know. They
Okay.
do play it. They've done it like on the Ships and Dips tours.
Yeah.
As you
They've got to, because it's in the top 10 of all time songs for them, I'd imagine.
And Steve's
The
done
live
it in the
stream.
the
he's
home
definitely done it in
concerts,
there.
right? Yeah, the live streams. Yeah.
And when he did it on there, he actually did it with some other people, friend of the podcast, Alan Fogel, as well as Liam McKinnon on the, it's not drums, but it's the box. I don't know
Sure.
what the thing is called. And then also another man on bass. I didn't get his name. But it's just amazing to listen to. And I actually, it's one of the things that I want people to go out and listen to this week is that one. Because it's really cool to see him playing it almost live. Like, I think obviously the other people pre-recorded their pieces,
Sure.
but Steven is doing it live.
Yeah, Nick and I just actually, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, did one of the live stream shows with Steve. Not we're not featured guests, but watched one of the shows live. And we were talking about that afterwards, how cool it is that they do all
Like the
those
text
little
from
bits
Craig stuff.
with, text from Craig, but also like the music of having Craig and Kevin there for a song. I think when he did Shooting Star, he played with himself. Not like that, but he had a second version.
We
of
gotta
himself
work it
on the
in.
screen there. Yeah, it's got to be there somewhere. But it was really cool to see all those things come together like that, and pretty flawlessly too.
I wonder how long it took them to write the song. Not the recording of it, but to write the lyrics of it.
10 minutes.
10. Okay.
10.
That's fair.
Well, they said that it only took them a half hour to write the song.
Really? No shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like it came really quickly to them.
no kidding.
It's crazy.
Like sneezing into the wind.
Oh yeah, I can't pull it up. Unfortunately, it's not working with me. It's not gonna. If I were on my computer, I could find it out pretty quick, but I'm not able to pull it up right now.
I'm going to be there real soon. I'm going to have some answer for us.
For whatever reason, it doesn't want to pull up on my mobile device, and it keeps giving me a hard time.
Life in a Nutshell has been
But it
performed
does.
229 times by Barenaked Ladies. Most recent B
Wow.
in 2017 at the Naperville Last Fling 2017. So 2017, yeah, they played it. So they played it. I mean, they played it a couple times in 2014, a couple times in 2012, and then 2016 7 times, 2017 18 times. So it looks like it was a staple on that tour.
When did Steve leave?
2009.
2009.
That's true. It is. It's 18th on their top songs played.
Wow.
So it's up there, but I think you're right. I don't remember them ever playing it at any of the concerts I've ever gone to.
Yeah, same. I'm trying to confirm that, but yeah, nope, nothing there. It's all in that year, huh?
So strange.
And I wonder, I would assume, the Ships and Dip video that we watched was from 2011, and Ed was on lead for that. I would assume Ed is doing lead vocals in the later years too. I mean, I don't think it'd be something that Kevin would take over. Not this sort of a song.
No, and Ed does a pretty good job covering it. Like, it's in his range. He does well. It's not Steven, but he does a good job with it.
Yeah, I the only criticism I had watching the video, and the Ships and Dip video, not to keep referencing it, Hello Kitty, was very weirdly shot. Like, it was like a stabilized video of Kevin a little bit, and then just Ed's face, super close up for 4 minutes. I would say it seemed a little bit like he was going through the motions, that he was just kind of singing it straight. But also, again, all I saw was his face and nothing else going on. So he could have been super into it with his legs and was just keeping a straight face the whole time. But he did nail it. Like you said, it's right in his range. He hit every note. Like, he sounded really good doing it.
Well, he didn't perfectly hit it. He did mess up some words.
Maybe he was lip syncing.
Yes, true.
I'm going to assume that there's a mistake there. I don't.
Well, you never know with those guys if it was a mistake
Just a
or
slip of the hand.
if it was intentional or if it's like, I don't know. It's
Tongue, I mean.
One of the things that we've concluded is that as no matter what Ed has said about him being over it, in every album since the breakup, he has not been over it. And so, or over the breakup, like there's so many references all over the place. But it feels like with like 2011 was still recent enough that it could have even been like a slight, like he was intentionally doing it to, I don't know, just to, I don't know. There seems like there's been a couple of moves like that in their past to kind of, jab at each other a little bit, but also it could have just been a fun lyric change. It could have just been a mistake. Like, you really have no clue for sure. Well, but they're all valid options.
Right.
If you look at Barenaked Ladies lyrics and you look at their music as a whole and what they use for words in their songs, it's quite clear that they are extremely intelligent with how they utilize words. And I believe that they do everything with a purpose. And so if they're making jabs, there's a very good chance that there's a double meaning to it.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that I was thinking about, so the last episode Nick and I recorded was Steve's most recent solo album, Heal Thyself Part 2. And there's a song on there that I really loved the message of, but like it felt very straightforward. And I told Nick, I was just like, I can't trust anything Steve says at face value, because that's what they've done for 20 odd, 30 odd years, is everything has a double meaning and everything has like a second layer to it. And so the song felt really straightforward. And I feel the exact same way about this. Like, it could just be a really sweet codependent love song, but like that feels like there could be a second layer to it. And part of me feels kind of like ignorant if I just go, yeah, it's a sweet love song, because I feel like I'm missing a second layer. But it also could just be, like you said, very intelligent, but very straightforward in its meaning. But it also could be like super critical and like making fun of it, and you have no clue, because it's like they're so smart with their lyrics.
Well, let's slip into what this song is about, because this is an interesting discussion. I think reading online and also my years of thought about this song, like there's 1,000,001 ways to take this song, as people online have shown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to hear what you guys think this song is about.
I think it's interesting that the second line is, her Barbies always did it on the first date. And that is like
when she was 3. When she was 3.
That to me
what
is,
has this 3-year-old been exposed to?
Right.
Well, that's
why is a 3-year-old even thinking about sex?
We would need a licensed psychologist on the show to do that.
And when it comes into play in a relationship.
Right.
So clearly she had maybe some issues, but then the next line, now she is with me. And I just kind of realized, that means that he pretty much got laid on the first date. And that's what he's saying,
There's never any need, though. There's never any need for them to demonstrate.
Yes.
So it happens frequently.
Absolutely. It's interesting. That's my take on that part. Come on, guys.
I have decided to play ignorant and give him the innocence and just say it's a love song about two people who are probably pretty dependent on each other, maybe to a point where everyone around them is like, the fuck are you guys doing? But like, whether it is in that honeymoon period or whether that's just like they have both been like that and have found someone that fits that mold with them, and they're just in bliss. So I want to take it as that, because I think it's nice and refreshing to have just a straightforward, no caveat love song about two people just head over heels. So that's where I'm going with it.
I've kind of always
So under that guise, what is the line? She's like a baby, I'm like a cat mean?
When we're together, we both get fat. I think the third line to it is pretty important there, because I think it is about just being, again, in bliss and not, because fat babies, fat cats are, and they're not idioms, but they're like well-known points. I don't want to say points of reference. I know what I'm looking for. Like, a fat, they're phrases we use, I guess.
Babies are fat. Cats are usually fat. They go together.
And I think it's like when we're together, we both get fat. Like they're both reveling in that just like joy and lack of care of the outside world. Like they're just there with each other.
Plus, she was doing things to her Barbies when she was 3, so she might not have progressed and matured mentally beyond baby stage. So that could be a double meaning right there.
You know, I'm not going to go there, but I hear what you're saying and I respect it.
No, I think too. I have to go. Going off what JD says, I think the whole like baby and cat thing is just the constant eating, the constant just indulgence, yes, and just taking it all in. But still, even with all that, even with all that stimuli, all this kind of blissful happiness, it's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. We just keep needing each other, and right off the bat, it goes into the pre-chorus with I don't tend to worry about the things that other people say. So clearly, their friends are saying this isn't good, this isn't healthy. I don't care. This is what I want. I wouldn't want it any other way. So I think it's just that kind of blissful happiness.
I agree with that. The listeners out there can't see any of the video, but we've got videos of everybody here. And I have a cat directly on my lap, directly in the view of my camera. I can't see half of the people who are attending this podcast because I'm looking through the back of a cat's head. But that's kind of the perfect
you are missing
example
a lot,
of what this song is about.
Nick just went shirtless. And
about Twingy.
I've been working on it.
Got
what can I say? Hey, sorry, I don't mind you talking about me that way. That's okay. To all of our fans out there, that's okay if they didn't get me that way.
So Nick did say a couple of times to me throughout the week, and then he started backtracking. He said that he thinks he has a hot take on the song, but then got worried that he goes, maybe it's not a hot take, maybe it's what everybody thinks. And I'm just going to
So traditionally, I've always taken it the way that you.
It's about a cat.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Traditionally, I've always just kind of looked at it as like we've talked about so far, just a true love song. Like, really loved all that matters to me is her. Like, I don't really worry about what other people say, just taking that at face value. But the more I started listening to this week, I started wondering if it's more like complete infatuation, earlier stages of a relationship, because everything he states about her in this song is kind of face value, like more like facts. Like, I know this about her, but not I know this about who she is. Mm-hmm. And then like her life in a nutshell. So to sum her up completely is something about me. Her life is something about like, she doesn't want to change me. So I wonder right. I wondered if it's more like he's really still getting to know her and he doesn't know all that much, but you're just in that stage where you're like complete infatuation. Or if it's like a little bit more narcissistic and like he just really doesn't care, everything's, and there's like sweet parts about it later, like, oh, it's great because I had this really tough time and she was there for me. But again, it's still about him.
Right.
That's a good point.
You know what though? I never noticed that before, but look at the chorus. That's a good point, Nick, because BNL, like Stephen Page especially and Ed, are really good at coming up with really clever rhymes. Yeah. They do it all through this song. They've done it through their career. They know how to come up with a rhyme. Look at the rhyme scheme in the chorus. Yeah. It's me. It's like, I think, like her life in a nutshell. No way would she want it to change me. Not that easy. My time's often decided for me.
So I don't know if that's a like picked up on early stages. I'm still getting to know you, or if it's like, this is real late, because it could also be that from the stories they tell, and that he just like doesn't care. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's three me's in the chorus alone.
We've broken down a lot of BNL songs, lyrically, and one of the things that we have found is a similar pattern with this kind of narcissistic, it's all about me theme with a lot of Steve's songs.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a jerk, but I mean, I do remember us talking a lot about that with a lot of these. Well,
what's an interesting take about it is how self-aware he is of that part of himself. Like, that's one of that is probably my favorite thing about Steve's songwriting is his self-awareness, his not deprecation, but just he knows where he's coming from. He knows his flaws and is singing about them very directly, but not trying to mask it or not trying to like divert away from it. He will directly talk about that. And I think narcissism is one of the biggest things that he talks about a lot throughout BNL and solo stuff. So yeah, I've picked up on that too. And
he never paints a pretty picture about it either.
No, not at all.
Right.
But he sings really well about it.
Steve's not a narcissist, because narcissists are always about me, but they're also like, I am the best thing, most wonderful thing in the world. His songs are so self-centered, but they're not positive.
Right.
He's just very realistic.
And oftentimes there's like an acceptance there. Like, I've caused this, but I get why we're here, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. This is who I am, so. But I like that because I think, like, you know.
This is a really positive song, though.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, I kind of agree with that, with a little bit of what Nick was saying, that it could be like an early on thing where they're both a little bit codependent, and they have found that their clinginess works with each other. Because I think I know that I've definitely been in relationships on both sides of that, where like I'm way into the other person or they're way into me, and if that's not equal, it is a really off balance relationship. And most of the time you find a place to mellow out somewhere in the middle, but they're both like super into each other and super dependent on each other. And at least at this point in the relationship, it works. And it might not down the road, but right now things are, you know, cat as a cat.
Yeah. It just reminded me of like early, like when you're completely head over heels for someone in towards the beginning, and then someone's like, oh, well, what's she like? Like, and you're like, well, she's got blue eyes.
She
and,
likes crayons. Right.
She was really nice. She was there for me when I needed her.
What more do you need to know?
And I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I will say the lyric that I've always had the most trouble with is the "call me crazy, but it really doesn't." No, I'm sorry, not that one. It's the "my time is often decided for me." Like, I feel like I can get where it fits in, but like we've said, they're always super intentional about what they write. And so I just feel like there's a meaning there that I always miss, and I've never been able to figure out what. That
Are you in a relationship?
Yes.
You're in a relationship.
Oh, that's true. I've got kids too.
Yeah,
yes.
And you have kids. All right.
Basically, whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever
How many
she's
times
doing,
has she
he's
said,
doing.
"Okay, you're going to have to do this"?
Yeah, that's
my dime is decided for me.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
dear.
fair.
Yes, dear.
And I'm
yes,
okay
dear.
with that.
There it is.
Yeah, but I guess the line before that, he does say, "No way would she want it to change me," and then it's not that easy.
Because that's what they all say.
Not that easy, because
They all say that.
Well, I have a different take on that. Well, I shouldn't say it's my take. Starshine on songmeanings.com had this take, and I like it. I think it's interesting in a different point of view, that if the person that is singing this song is a musician and their wife or partner is not, so they're at home, they're separated because of the career that he has, such as Steven dealing with the touring that was going on with Gordon and such. So my time is something that's decided for me, like with his managers and stuff like that. Nothing's ever enough because he's always being pulled away, and he doesn't get enough time with this person that he loves. But they love each other. So like, she's at the movies to keep herself busy. I'm on the phone to keep in contact with her. That's how we keep in contact with each other. And like, they feel close even though they're so far apart, but it's never enough.
So far away.
It's pretty good, actually.
I think it's an interesting interpretation.
Right. So even though they're separated, even though they're in other parts of the country or world or whatever, they're still constantly on the phone talking.
Which is about the time that this was happening, is when that relationship was kind of in that stage.
Yeah, but did they have cell phones back then?
Right.
Maybe car phones.
Yeah.
I was going to say they had car phones. The cell phones that you had were like big.
Gotcha.
Gigantic.
Sure.
But
well, he could have been on like a payphone or something like that. You know, the
mobile ham radios, huh?
Yeah.
Walkie-talkie. Carrier pigeon.
Up here, up north, we use dog sled mostly.
Yeah.
I do want to point out an interesting change that they make in the song that they don't do in a lot of other songs. So the structure of the song, if Aaron hasn't already covered it, is verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, and then we come back to the chorus, pre-chorus.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
it actually reverses, which I really like about this song.
I'm like,
yeah.
wow, that's an interesting choice. Like, we're gonna go the other direction here.
It goes bridge, chorus, pre-chorus. That's a really, really, really clever choice. And I do like that. One thing I do like about the rock spectacle version that they don't do in the album is I love the fact that when they come back to the pre-chorus, the entire band goes unison on it, which I do. I think that's really
well.
Cool.
Is that the entire band going in unison, or is that the live audience joining in and singing that? Because it almost sounds like it's more than just the band. It sounds almost like it's the audience.
Everybody. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I thought from the mic standpoint, from the audio standpoint, it's the entire band. But yeah, I mean, it could have been a full sing along. That works too. Yeah,
with a little dot bouncing over the lyrics. But yeah, I was just looking at the lyrics. You're right; it does reverse the pre-chorus and the chorus on the last thing, and I think people are so used to hearing it that like. Maybe I know my brain didn't realize or catch that it flipped.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
And everything kind of changes too, which I like about this song. Like, all that matters to me is she. The first time he does she, it's held out for an extended period of time. So all that matters to me is she, her. The second time they do she, it's shorter. All that matters to me is she, her life. So I like that too. And then when it goes to the final chorus, they mix up the way he says it. Her life in a nutshell, no way would she ever want it to. Like, I love that the song is never quite the same anywhere, which is really cool. Like I said, it's not like a wasted note. It's always kind of keeps you on your toes.
And then the she at the end of the song too is very like ending. Like, all that matters to me is she. And then like,
yeah.
It gets shorter and shorter,
But it's like you can't. It's so well done with that singing and the notes and everything that you can't tell where they're going a little bit short on these different spots. I mean, I can't tell. I just think it sounds great and it sounds organic. It's just So I don't give too much thoughts to that because I'm usually just jamming to the song. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And plus, I'm not very musical, so I mean, I wouldn't know anyway.
I want to talk about the she for a moment.
The sheep?
Because that's an interesting choice. I don't...
The sheep?
She.
The sheep.
The sheep.
That's a bad idea.
That's an interesting choice.
We need to talk about the sheep.
Yes, it is.
That's an intervention.
That's
But the she, that's not
it's out of hand.
Typically talk in normal English language. It is, and I was looking up today. I'm like, is that correct English, or is that them playing around to find the rhyme, or what is that? The correct English actually
there's no rhyme there.
Is that her is a pronoun? It would be the correct pronoun to use there. It's not possessive adjective. It's an actual pronoun. And her is correct. However, the informal way of saying it is she. So they are actually using the informal way, which is the one that most people don't tend to use. But I think it grabs your attention that much more to use that.
Well, and it's to switch it off the focus too, because the line is actually all that matters to me is she. So they're trying to take it off that narcissistic me to the she. It's a sneaky little rhyme in the line, and I like that. That's good. Instead of what we would expect, which is all that matters to me is her. It's a nice little touch to kind of like the person is trying to keep the focus on. This isn't about me. It's about she. Not about me.
Yeah, I thought that was genius. Yeah, I would never have thought of putting she in there because I'm.
Well, and that's one of those things you wonder how that came to be, because my gut tells me that wasn't like the first thing that came to mind. Then like it was an intentional. Obviously, everything's intentional, but they had to go. No, wait a second. What if we'd make it she instead? And just one of those.
But with 30 minutes, it's not like they had a lot of time to think about it.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
They'd be like, oh, it'd be really clever if we did. It was just.
It must just have rolled right off of their brain and onto the paper.
Yeah.
You know, and
it clicked.
And this is the stuff that really pisses me off because Jeff, you're a musician too. I've never had something come this easily, this quickly, and turn out this amazingly.
No,
right?
exactly.
Like, pisses me off.
No. It's hours and hours and days and days.
Yeah,
What
and
is
then you're
the
like
right
later,
word
you're just like, that still
all right,
sucks. And then like these guys, I mean,
that's when it's on an album and people are listening to it and you're listening.
Right?
To
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
why did I read
I know
that?
that, like, I listen back. I'm like,
oh my god!
Yeah.
I just used that word twice in the same verse.
I have the one EP with 6 songs, and there's a couple that I go back and I go, "That's one of the 6 you picked. Like you thought this was good enough to be one of 6." It's like this. It's 30 minutes, and then just boom, and you're like, that is like we've said, perfect, like as near perfect as you can get, and it's just it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's the magic that is.
And I think sometimes too, that's what happens. I think sometimes, sorry, Tracy, to cut you off, but I wanted to go off on that. But like, that's one thing. Sometimes that whole idea, like you see this with TikTok videos and stuff too, and YouTube and all that. Like people just sit down and they'll just put something together that's very organic and they just sing it heartfelt. They come up with whatever lines and everything.
Right.
And people just gravitate to that. And I'm sure that's not even Steve and Ed at times too. I'm sure like Brian Wilson. I guarantee Brian Wilson was a good it had to be a good solid weekend.
Oh, sure.
Pouring over those lyrics and everything. But sometimes sometimes there's just that whole organic feeling that someone could just come up with an idea, whip it out. It's all emotional. It's what exactly we wanted to say.
Well, I think the thing that makes me jealous about that is the ability to articulate it so well, so quickly. Because I think like I've been there too, where I'm writing something in the moment and the feelings that are coming out are honest and feel organic. But when you look at these lyrics and you go, how did you come up with that to articulate what you were feeling so quickly in a way that is interesting and not, uncommon and not done before to this degree? Like it just feels fresh. And it's like, I know I keep saying frustrating, but like it's a very specific set of people who have that skill, who can almost off the cuff come up with something that feels so honest, yet so unique.
And really, JD, we probably, I don't want to speak for you, but we could probably take a lesson from this, because I guarantee if they would have overthought this song, they would have found a rhyme for me. They would have found a rime for me, and it would have ruined the song. Well, and like, why are we rhyming me with me? We got before.
One of my favorite bands is the Mountain Goats, and their biggest song, probably their most popular song, is called "This Year," and that's one of the stories that John, the lead singer, tells, is that the chorus is, "I'm going to make it through this year if it kills me," like 2 to 4 times, depending on where in the song it takes place. And he sent it as a demo to the other guy in the band and said, "I'm going to replace the chorus later. That's just there for filler." And he wrote back, "Don't." Like, that is it. And you just think about it, and it's a very, that's the whole chorus, is that one line repeated. But if they would have overthought it and spent more time going back and rewriting the whole thing, that piece might not have had the impact that it does. So sometimes you need that other person to say, nope, no, like that's it. Leave it exactly as is.
I hate sending ideas to people. I absolutely do. But more and more, I'm learning that it's what you have to do. Because that one voice of reason that goes, "Why is this? Why is this 4 minutes instead of 3? Or why? Yeah, that one extra. Right. And when you look back on it, we're usually right.
And I think that's the thing that we're also not hitting on here, is that this is the word that I think of when I think of like this song and several other songs, as well as, again, coming back to the group, the Beatles. John and Paul and Stephen and Ed have a magic about them when they are collaborating, where it just naturally, I think, at certain times with certain songs, just clicks. Like they're going and bouncing things back and forth, and it just like, boom, that was it. Like we don't have to put more thought into it, because you finished the sentence that I wasn't going to be able to do perfectly. And vice versa.
I think one of the things that great bands such as the Beatles and what the song represents is, especially for lyricists and for songwriters, is there's a level of empty-mindedness. It's kind of like a samurai code. It's like having no mind, not thinking about it, just allowing it to be and being able to channel that stuff through. and that's where most of the creativity and the ingeniousness comes along. Even Einstein said that most of his ideas, they weren't thought; they were just he was open with it, and it just flowed right through. And I guess he, even through lucid dreaming, there is a way of being able to tap into things that that are just really inspirational and above and beyond what we would do if we consciously put our minds to it.
And it makes you wonder, like, I'd love to see a list, and it's not as easy as this, but I'd like to see a side-by-side comparison of the songs that came the easiest to them and the songs that came with the most work and difficulty. Because as much as I agree with everything we've all said, I also have felt and I keep saying my experience as a songwriter, it's limited compared to like Jeff, even like that the work aspect of it is incredibly important. Like the discipline and the treating it as a job almost, like I have to do this, one musician I really respect kind of said, and a lot of people have this idea like that writer's block is not a thing. You work through that. That is an excuse to not write. So I'd be curious to see what songs they have labored over and what songs they have that have come naturally and so quickly, and see if there is a gap in the hits or the ones that people gravitate toward and the ones that feel like filler or just album tracks or something like that. Or if it's a mixed bunch, if it's like, yeah, there's songs on both sides that are hits and that are, that haven't clicked.
I would love to see that, JD. I'd love to see that.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be a fun episode.
Yeah. I don't know. And
so if you ever talk to Stephen and Ed, ask them that question, get that, and then come, like, that would be a great discussion.
Yeah.
So we are getting them both on the show at the same time.
We're gonna bait him into it.
We're gonna be like, oh, actually, we've got Steve right here. Steve, come on out. And he pops up on Zoom.
Tracy, how did you find out how long it took them to record this stuff in the first place? Was it you, Tracy, that said that? Or was it?
That was.
He's got a book that's like this thick.
Right? Well, 2 books actually.
I'm not going to validate his excuses.
That was an interview.
He's in charge of the podcast. He needs to buck it up. He needs to take responsibility for this, for doing the work.
Hang on, let me check the B&L encyclopedia collection I have back here under.
I mean, we should be able to.
We'll just flip.
So you guys brought up earlier the fact that I've been trying to find a way to segue and I couldn't, so I'm bringing us backwards for a minute.
The sheep.
To talk about something that both JD and Jeff have both said about Rock Spectac, because there is the Rock Spectac version. And I'm going to go out there and say something that rarely comes out of my mouth, in that the live version of this, the Rock Spectac version, is essentially the best version of this as compared to the original.
I agree. The Rock Spec version of this is the best.
I would agree. I've only ever thought about that exact comparison with What a Good Boy, but I think comparing that here, I think I'd have to gut instinct agree.
Huh.
I feel like if we go too far in this, we're totally bashing Andy, because I agree with you. The What a Good Boy. What makes the live version of What a Good Boy so great is that damn epic ending.
For Kev, yeah.
So
I gravitated towards the studio
so
version.
I have a thought on that.
I gravitated more towards the studio version.
Huh?
And I don't know why. I think just gut instinct.
I
like that it was like bouncier and faster and more fun. And I think I agree. My favorite part is when they all came and sang at the same time.
Right.
But I still think I'd lean towards the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and I'm going to take it off so it's not bashing Andy. I think the studio.
Not what I meant. That was a bad word.
I think Andy was doing exactly what he was supposed to do, and he fills this song perfectly. And like I said, the blending with Ed is seamless. And that's what he was supposed to be doing when they recorded in the studio. I think that when Andy left the band, they realized what they lost, what they missed, because I think that they kind of took Andy for granted a little bit in the geniusness that he had and that he was providing them. And when he left, and that spot was filled with Kevin, which Tyler, amazing choice, like going out and getting Kevin to come in. That being said, I think the band, they have said, like, Kevin has infused us with a new livelihood. And I think what that is they were like, you know what? This was the piece that we had before that we were missing, that we took advantage of.
Right.
Kevin, go at it. Enjoy it. And I think in that live version, that's what he does. They gave him permission to let loose, and he does. And they're like, that's electric. Oh my goodness.
Well, and I think you're right, because now that I'm thinking about it too, when we interviewed Andy, I remember I asked him, did you because I can see what Nick's saying, but I do love that big epic outro, the piano outro for What a Good Boy, when they do it live. And I did ask Andy if they did that with him, and he said yeah. So there is that moment where when you're live you get to unleash. But going off what you said, like what makes Nutshell great in Rock Spec is just Kevin is just all over the place and on fire on that piano.
And that's why her life in a nutshell, no way would she ever want to change me. Cause not that easy goes my time is all been decided for me. And I don't tend to worry about the things that other people say. And I'm learning that I wouldn't want it any other way. Call me crazy, but it really doesn't matter. All that matters to me is she.
It has got to be like I love the studio version of Nutshell, but the piano accompaniment on the live version is just fantastic.
This is a
well, and so
go ahead.
There's a number of things that they change about that song when they do it live, at least in the live version on Rock Spec Tech.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 1.5 speed. So they double the beats per minute. Well, not double, they 1.5. They go up by half. There's no pauses. They cut the pauses out between verses and choruses.
Right.
And we got Kevin that's kicking in with these pianos that are just amazing. But the other thing is that Jim is no longer on the backbone on skeleton on this song. Tyler switches over to doing the skeleton. Bass, He's doing a basic beat, and Jim is playing his heart out on that live version.
Yeah. Yes, the bass line on the live version that Jim plays. Holy crap. It just sounds like they are having so much fun on that version. I mean, they are in the studio version, but here it's just unleashed absolute fun. The way you want to hear a band play their own song, not like, we're playing that song that you all want to hear. Like they're jamming, and it's great.
I feel like one of the things that I've always loved about BNL from and I still think they have this as a 4-piece, and I think they had it when they reunited the Junos, and I think Steve has it by himself, or with Craig and Kevin, depending on the tour. I think there is just something magical, and I really agree with your John and Paul comparison that when they're together, they're never apart, they're never alone, but when they're together, it just works. It's like there's no better way to put it. That they all just fit together so well. And it's interesting reading some of the history around the breakup of one of the things that we learned recently in our research was that there was about a year between when Steve was arrested and then kind of arraigned or whatever. And in that year they had to travel separately. So he would be stopped at the border, and the 4 guys would be there. But I still feel like you could never tell in live videos and live shows that there was tension between them.
Magic.
It's very much an Oasis thing where they could hate each other or there could be tension, but the second they get on stage, that you cannot
music
tell. It just all clicks together. Yeah, it's just magic. Exactly. I mean, it really just is. And I think
music was probably their common denominator.
No,
they have that one. It's the best thing. Even now on Twitter, it's the best thing.
I actually that's a fun fact. Complete side note. I didn't know this, but apparently there's
Wibbling rivalry.
Someone recorded.
I bought it years
10,
ago.
Yeah, the 10 minutes of them arguing, and it charted.
It is so much fun to listen to because the thing that bringing Oasis back to the basics, it's just 2 brothers who again are magical in their own right, but they're brothers. And they're like in their mid-20s, and they're like the
Yeah.
second you get them in a room, they're just bickering. But bickering for them is just like swearing and yelling at each other. I don't think the interviewer talks. I think it's just the two of them yelling at each other. Yeah, yeah.
Just screaming.
But again, you put them on stage.
Mostly about Be Here Now these days.
And about reuniting.
I'm going to intervene real quick. Nick, we haven't heard from you in like 20 minutes, and this was the song that you wanted to come back to.
No, I'm not as strong musically to chime in on all that.
So
type
anyway,
of
like
stuff.
we were saying about Oasis.
No, I think with the Rock Spectac version, just because I lean towards the studio version doesn't mean that this isn't fantastic as well. It's very fun. I think making it the choices that they made to like go faster make it different enough that it brings something different. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's interesting. I think recently they did like a tour or two ago, they did the 4-piece did Enid, and they did it at half speed. And it was really weird. It was very jarring at first. And I think it was pure that I was uncomfortable with it, that it felt wrong to me. Like they sounded great. Everything came together right. But like, that's such a fast paced song. And it really felt like they're like, well, we're in our late 40s now. I don't know if we can all play that fast.
Did they do that weird opening bit at half speed too?
Yeah. No, it was Ty on the mic just going, but like that's why I love the Rock Spectac version, is because it's a little faster. And like I don't think it's a blanket rule that faster is more energetic, but like that is oftentimes the case, and there's just something that really comes out there. But I also think that the studio version is, again, as near perfect of a studio recording as you can get. And part of what makes the live better is not just the musical choices that they're making, but also just the fact that it's live and there's a community there participating in it. I think that just there's some things in the studio that you can never recreate, but there are also some things live that you can't recreate in the studio. And so I think it's just a balance of those.
Right. And
Correct.
in many cases, I have to agree with Nick. I tend to prefer studio versions over live versions. I don't get a lot of live albums because I think there's something lacking that the polish of a studio version gets. Even though I love seeing a band live, I love going to see a band live. There's a reason that they go into the studio and they record these songs. So normally that's the case. This is one of so I mean, there's just something about that process to make the song that I prefer. A lot of times when you see a band do it live, they're not on key. They go off key a lot. They don't sound vocally as great. I mean, it's an experience, and that's why I think seeing a band live is for me usually more enjoyable than getting a live album. That said, the rock spectacle version of this song, that's an exception. Like when I knew we were doing this one again, even though it's a song that I know very, very well and I've listened to, it's constantly on my playlist. I went back and listened to the Rock Spect again, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so good."
I partially agree with you guys in a number of reasons. I mean, I used to go to concerts, and now I don't, simply because I enjoy what they have produced in the studio more than what's produced live. It's fun seeing the band, them doing crazy stuff, but I like the music a lot better, right from the studio. So it's like, why spend a lot of money for me to go and watch some music that I'm like, wow, they really butchered that.
It is one of the few times I actually will swap out the live version in my playlist for the album version, and I can tell you my stand on that, and that is this. There are some bands that are not good live acts. There are some bands. I don't want to mention any names. I don't want to
I'd be interested to know off mic.
Hootie.
I would be very interested.
There are no, but you look at like Hootie and the Blowfish. I saw them live. Going to see I'm just saying. I'm saying like Hootie and the Blowfish. Tim McGraw is another one. I
would probably agree with you for the record, but
that's crazy. You were there. We didn't know each other back then.
But some bands, you go to see them live, you're basically hearing either bad versions of studio songs, or you're hearing studio songs over. There's no change. You're going to see, the bands that are good live acts are the ones that put on a show. They do it differently. They mix it up. They joke with the audience. They make it an experience.
Not
BNL is
King
one of those
Don't-
bands.
don't
And in fact,
mention
I
King
think when I saw them in Peep Show,
Okay.
they came out and they did
That's
an
so
acapella
cool.
set. And I love acapella music. As many people that know me know, I love acapella. I love harmonies. I love, arrangements. I love layering. And they came out one
The
week.
listeners out there, send Jeff some Pentatonics
Jeff
tickets
is
you
very
heard of
familiar with
Pentatonics?
Pentatonics, by the way.
or Straight No Chasers.
I've seen Straight No Chaser live, but
While you're on this kick, and as a transition as well, there is only one.
you're gonna play one of my acapella songs. Awesome, that's cool.
No. There is only one cover of this song that I was able, one authentic cover that's been recorded, and that was done by Out of the Blue, which is the Yale a cappella group, and they did it on their 2001 disc Phraseology, and that's the only copy. That's the only cover of this song.
Well, I was going to say that when they did the acapella set, when I saw them too, 1 week was done acapella, which I get when you've done 1 week over and over, like JD mentioned, they're the 1 week band. When you do a song over and over and over, you want to mix it up a bit. And they did 1 week completely acapella, which was amazing. And they did Life in a Nutshell acapella. That might be my favorite version of the song.
That would be cool.
So speaking of versions
That's
and
really
favorites and numbers, why don't we get some numbers to this? But Jeff, what are we rating this on?
Well, since we think that this might have transposed back to a quarrel between two bandmate lovers, our John and Paul, our Steve and Ed, we are going to rank this on 0 to 5 Gallaghers.
I love
You
it.
mean the guy that hits watermelons?
Yes, watermelons. The Smash-O-Matic.
Yeah.
Man, why wasn't he in Oasis? That would be awesome.
That should be every
And
song.
after all,
That's the third. That's the third
you're
brother.
my wonder.
That would be an amazing concert. I want to see that concert.
Tickets.
Front row.
That's the
That's-
reunion.
that-
That's the
that will be.
Oasis reunion. They're like, it's Oasis, but it's
Gallagher
also
Hughes.
Gallagher.
He's the third Gallagher. He's the
So who's going first, Jeff?
always a guest. Let's start with Nick because you picked the song, or you picked the come on.
All right. I adore this song. I think when we made our top 10 lists, this was one that I had to cut, but
So you don't really love it, do you?
ultimately, but I felt horrible about it. And it was the last one that I cut that didn't make it in. And yeah, I'm going with 4.6.
4.6.
Gallagher's.
4.6 Gallagher's. JD.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to just go for a full 5, but like it also just doesn't quite feel right. Like I feel like it's one of those things that objectively it checks every box objectively. But like I think Nick has a bit more of emotional attachment than I do. And I don't like I mean that in a good way. So like I just don't feel like giving it a 5 feels right. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 Gallagher's. I wanted to give it 2 Gallagher's because that feels right, but I don't think that would be doing the song justice. I'm going to go 4.5.
Stefan.
Well, this is definitely a song I like. I love the song. I love the music. I love Steve singing. It reminds me of BNL. I love this classic BNL sound, and it's just awesome. I love it. I don't think that they do anything wrong. I can't understand the lyrics half the time, but it's now that we break it down, it's fun, and there's nothing wrong with the lyrics. It's not like disgusting or over the top weird, but so this is definitely a song I would put on my playlist. Gosh, it's just an awesome song, and you can tell when that doesn't take very long for them to write the lyrics and come up with the music and record the thing. So I'm going to have to go with a straight up 4.9. It's right there. It really is right there for me. Gallagher's.
4.9 Gallagher's. I concur, Stefan. I concur. There are BNL songs I like more than Life in a Nutshell, but not many. And so I will leave that 5 space for those, and we will get to some of those, especially when we get to the O's, which is a 5 song. There's a 5 song in the O's.
Odds are.
Yeah. He spoiled it for me. But yeah.
Sure, sorry.
There's a 5 in the O's. But so I can't go quite a 5, but they're, like I said, this is one of the not a notice wasted. It sounds great. Musically, I love the changes that they do. I love the lyrics. I love the energy. It's the song that makes me angry, like JD mentioned, because how the hell did you pull this off in a half an hour?
Yeah.
And for me, it's a 4.9. Tracy?
And I'm struggling. This is one of those songs that I have all week bounced within a half a point, and it's one of those ones that I can't decide where to put it. But as we've been talking tonight, I finally did come to a decision. Like you guys have been saying, I can't put it in the 5. I really want to, because I really enjoy this song, and I forget how much I enjoy this song when I don't listen to it. Especially the Rock Spectac version. How can I forget that version exists and like go back to the album version every time? I don't know. I think I just love Andy, and so I feel bad listening to it without Andy.
I agree. That's true. Yeah. Because he could have done it too.
Oh,
live. He probably did. He probably did do it live.
Yeah. But saying that, like, I've got to give it right up there to almost perfection. I'm going to give it a 4.8.
So, Aaron, what is your ranking?
It's a sweet song, and I wonder as to the exact meaning of some of the lyrics, knowing Stephen Page, but on the surface, quite sweet. There's just a little bit of a bittersweet quality to the music, which makes it interesting. The bridge, of course, caught my attention for lyrics. I fell down with no one there to catch me from falling. Then she came round, and only her tenderness stopped me from bawling my eyes out. I'm okay, and that's why. Very raw, very hard on your sleeve, so very classic Page Bridge lyrics. I really liked the build-up towards the end with all the auxiliary vocals coming in. Very, very nice little climax. And again, ultimately, it's a very strong song. It does remind me a lot of Brian Wilson. I don't like it quite as much as Brian Wilson. I wouldn't call this my favorite or even like one of my absolute favorites, but it definitely deserves a spot in my greatest hits playlist. So I am awarding Life in a Nutshell 4.2 Gallaghers out of 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I
a real
like it.
shame that Aaron pulled this down, right? With his 2 point, with his
Yeah, I know.
2.1, the hell?
Wow, yeah. It was sad.
2.1. I guarantee it's going to be 2. No, I'm kidding.
Now I got to
He's gonna
rearrange all of that. Like, that doesn't make sense unless I rearrange it.
We wouldn't be us if we didn't mess up your editing process.
So I do have a really special
Hey, everyone, and
appearance.
welcome to the Barenaked ABCs.
Hey guys, welcome back to Barenaked Ladies Are Us. It's great to have you guys here.
We got
a very special episode for you
our
guys
guest
today.
this evening.
Yeah.
Speaking of guests, I have a very special appearance for this week. Other than all the other versions, like the ones where they did intimate and interactive, and they did it as a Buskers version, so they did it right there on the street with the audience, and also all of the versions on the Ships and Dips tour, and Steven doing it live. There is a really special version of this when they were on a TV show with a very famous person that loves the band almost as much as we do.
Jason Priestley,
who invited them to come
Celine
in
Dion?
and do this song on his TV show. Jason Priestley invited them, and they came on to 90210, and this is the song that they played on 90210.
So I was actually right. But I shouted out Jason Priestley like 3 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Wow. That wasn't
that
a random guess. I was
a
joking.
random guess.
Wow.
You got the right one.
I was joking. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, so I will be putting that up there. I mean, it's only a minute clip. It's not the full song, obviously. But yeah, you get to see the wonderfulness that was 90210 and hear Barenaked Ladies at the same time.
I talked about this on one of our episodes, but as I unironic or unplanned, I'm wearing my West Wing sweater right now, and when the boys were born, I started watching a lot of West Wing. Like I had the box and started watching it. And sure enough, there's an episode where BNL appears and I had no clue. They were playing it like a Rock the Vote concert. And it's just the best feeling in the world when you're watching one of your favorite things and another one of your favorite things appears. I felt like a child. I was like, no way, it's BNL. Like they're on West Wing.
I get that way every time I see the Mythbusters go meet Obama.
Oh,
that episode.
When I used to watch that show growing up so much, and when we're doing After Dark now.
No,
Tracy?
what is there something wrong?
So those of you guys who are those listeners who cannot see the video, Tracy shut off his lights.
Yeah, we're doing After Dark
behind this video.
You can swear and make dirty jokes now. It's
Oh, perfect.
no holds barred. Yeah, you can completely.
Is there something wrong?
So maybe you need to turn the lights on.
You're in the dark.
Oh, you mean you need me to light up my room?
Light up your life.
Oh my God!
Light up your room.
We were talking, Tracy. You didn't need to pun at that moment.
Oh, come on. I made you guys give me the intro on that one. That was good.
I mean,
I cannot believe I did not see that coming.
It would. I know. I've been doing this how long?
I did. I saw it. I tried feeding you. I tried feeding you, even though I didn't know what the song was.
Oh, man,
I feel weirdly disrespected.
A year I've been doing this, Tracy, and I still don't see it coming.
Sometimes you do. But I got you on that one. I take pride.
Wow. Yeah, you got me.
I take pride in that one. That was
because I was listening to JD. I didn't...
Yeah, we were talking Mythbusters. He's like, I'm going to do a pun. I'm going to distract away from this.
Hey, nobody said that we were the sharpest tools in this shed.
Like, this is no Mythbusters podcast. Time for the pun.
Yeah.
Like...
Next. Yeah.
You stay on track or we go.
Well, gentlemen, where can people find more of you guys? Because you guys are hilarious.
All the places.
And tons of fun to listen to.
Our pod is Barenaked Ladies Are Us. It's still everywhere. It's going to be everywhere for a while.
All the places.
Yeah.
All the places.
If you think you can listen to a podcast there, chances are you can probably listen to our podcast.
Is it on Pandora?
Yeah, I think so. Was it?
Yeah, by press time we'll have our Kev episode out, and then we're done.
Yeah,
But what's the new podcast?
Yeah, until more stuff comes out.
You just covered every BNL song, an album, and the Stephen Page
for
ones.
now. So we keep putting it's an ellipsis. So what we decided to do was, BNL is our shared favorite band, and then what we decided to do moving forward is to keep it going, but to the next band that we're going to cover is a band that I adore to the same level of BNL that Nick has not gotten into to the level that I have, and then we're going to flip flop.
Oasis?
No, but that
might have actually worked. That line, but
I know we're going Coldplay next. Actually, I have been a defender of Coldplay since day one, and
I'm a fan of foreplay.
We didn't give it away definitively, but you probably mentioned Coldplay as top of the list.
I feel like you need to go back and re-edit the episode where they were last on, because I think we talked about what they were going to do next, if I remember distinctly. I think we did.
Did we?
I think we actually.
No,
I don't even know if we knew what we were going to do. Just that we were going to do it. Yeah.
We totally should. We should have left.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, so we'll do Coldplay
always with
next,
a BNL homage.
Steve and
BNL
released
Coldplay RS.
release new stuff. We're
keeping the RS
too, but we've already.
So is it?
Coldplay Are Us. Yeah, we're keeping the title. Yeah.
Nice.
Some Coldplay fans in England are like, I don't know what the hell that means, but okay, sure. Coldplay
That would have been a good one too.
So yeah, that's
Coldplay
coming
Are
next. But yeah, I mean, I'm JD. Well,
Yeah.
No, thank you
thanks
very
for
much,
having us
guys,
again.
for joining us.
Very fun.
It was really fun to be able to have this podcast with you guys.
this is always a blast.
I know
Yeah.
I had a
Yes.
fun time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
2
I mean,
weeks.
I think you guys are
Something.
coming back pretty soon, so I'm excited.
We are,
for
yeah.
that.
And then shortly again
we're coming
after
back
that, I
for-
think too.
When are they coming
I
back?
think we're doing limits. Yeah, it's pretty soon. Is it really that quickly?
So,
Hey,
What-
hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. You know me. I don't set any limits.
yes.
No, you can't do that yet because it's not that time yet.
Yeah, right.
You gotta wait.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, limits, and then we'll do looking up. Well, we're really sticking in the L's.
We can actually sneak some puns in for them too as they're setting up their episodes. I can be like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. That was a rush of blood to the head.
Yeah, sneak in Milo Xyloto. Tell me how you're gonna sneak in Milo Xyloto. You win if you can do that.
I will. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Oh, thank
Yeah, but no,
you
seriously.
guys for joining us. It really was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, guys. That was fun.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.